this that has been told, we will take some questions, please. If yes, there a microphone, please. Right there, please.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. I have to say I'm very happy to have the chance to sit beside Dr. Gomez at the lunchtime. He told me about this smart city panel. That's where I'm staying until now. Okay, I might stay even later. Okay, as I heard about all you say, I'm very impressed, how to be a smart city. If Dr. Gomez, if I ask you just one question, okay, what will be your top priority to build, smart city? And start with S.
Definitely, we need to institutionalize, fortify the institutions of the city government. Again, we need to make the government longer, the periods longer. We need to install a city manager type of solution. And something else that I didn't mention, which is very important in many parts of Mexico, is the capacity to create metropolitan zones, which was mentioned earlier today in some of the discussions. Some of the problems that affect our cities cannot be solved by the city itself. It needs to work in coordination with the neighboring cities. And there is no real legal mechanism in Mexico for this to happen. So those institutional developments, I think, are the top priority to make sure that our cities are capable of taking new, all of these technologies that they can benefit from.
Okay, you are right, and also you are wrong. My answer is to make the people smile. That's the top priority for a smart city. And then like the doctor say about the low density of the population, and also you mentioned about the ecosystem, right? And also about the money too. All those are very important, but nothing is more important than to make people sitting in that city can be happy.
A livable city.
Yeah, I was in Mexico City 3 times.
Right.
And I like there, I have been over 100 countries. Everybody asks me which is the best country you love. I always say very proudly Mexico. I love Mexico very, very much. Otherwise, I went to the Mexico City, So I think, you make people happy there, and then you make a smart city. Please put the smile as your most important element to be a smart city.
Well, I'll tell you something. Every year there's a survey done, and I don't know who does it, but it's in the newspapers every year, about who are the happiest people in the world. And Mexico is always number 1 or number 2.
Top 3, yeah.
See? So I'm very smart then.
Based on that, we can all go home.
Okay, very good. Okay. And also, you mentioned about the sewage, right? I was a former Taipei City Councilwoman. I was the first one to go down to the sewage. Because sewage is underground, nobody like to go there. Everybody want to build tall, right? To see, they say we have this library, we have this, that. But go to the sewage, make the sewage very good, very smooth. So the sewage system, good, then you won't become a swimming pool during the rainstorm.
Thank you. We don't catch your name.
My name is Katie Chen, but today I'm on my behalf of my daughter coming back. She was with the 10X former auction house. They sell the houses around all over through the internet. If you are interested to buy that through the internet, you can call them.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I lose that, please, there.
My name is Antonio Diaz. I come from Tijuana. And I have to say that Mexico City is probably among the best cities in the whole country. But I wanted to raise 3 points and see what's your opinion about this. I think there is one single element for smart cities to actually be done, and is to think long term. And our government in the municipal governments is a very short term oriented view. And I believe the only way to think long term is that actually society, the citizens, take a position and not leave things to the municipal government. And there are planning institutes in all the municipalities of Mexico. So my first ingredient, and I'd like to know your opinion, is is that active citizen participation is one. The second one is property tax. All of our municipal governments are broken. And I never heard anybody talking about increasing the property tax of the wealthiest people in each municipality to actually pay for better talent to do urban planning and to actually, improve the services of the city. In Tijuana, we pay approximately 10% what the property tax is in San Diego. So it's
10%.
impossible that we can have anything similar. So first thing is citizen participation. The second one, for long term. The second one is property tax. And the third one is to actually monitor what the government is doing, which is something that we have never done, at least in my part of the country. So I'd like to know whether you think this is actually right, whether I'm completely off the grid, or what do you think?
I don't know.
Yes.
Sally?
On the third point, yes, I think that you are completely right, and I want to put this in an historical context. I think that we have forgotten how to build cities, and that we've forgotten the key role that the public sector has in the building of cities. And for some reason, the kind of common idea of how cities get built is that it's the private sector, it's the market, it's the real estate sector, and all the profits and all the income go back to that private sector, and without realizing that underlying this is a system of public goods that is making all of this possible. So that information was somehow forgotten in the great happiness that people have in making money in cities without paying for it. So I think that the whole idea of making cities has to do with with understanding from the beginning the role of the public sector. The public sector has to lay out cities before they are built. A large share of the land is needed for public use. You are sitting here in New York City, the bastion of capitalism. The share of the land that is publicly owned in New York City is 48%.
Wow.
33% of the land is in streets. The public needs all that land. It needs to finance infrastructure. It needs to build this infrastructure. For some reason, we've lost that sense that we as a public need to finance and to take care of these things. We're just trying to take and take and take rather than be part of some kind of a larger citizenry. So we forgot how to be citizens and we become consumers. And that is very much to our detriment.
Okay. Here? I believe in the back. Yes. No, the one with the microphone, please. Thank you. Thank you
very
Excuse me,
much.
You're next.
My name is Amir Sternhell. I'm the director of the Center of Innovation for Commercialization. We provide high-tech solutions for smart cities. We are very, very strong actually in India. I've been dealing with Mexico for 20 years. We worked for the largest IT company there. I also was the representative of Harvard Business School in Latin America. So I had some very interesting, obviously, insight into many different dynamics and so forth. The last 2 years, I've been dealing with the largest integrator in Latin America, specifically regarding high-tech projects involving the government. Nothing has reached any fruition. So is there maybe an opportunity for public-private partnerships to overcome whether it's bureaucracy, whether it's corruption, but effectively it's inactivity? So please comment on that.
Yes. Jorge?
Well, I have to tell you that these combinations of monies coming from the public sector and the private sector are brand new in Mexico. And the reason why they are coming, this has little to do with financing. It has to do with the fact that when you move into that scheme, things get done. Unfortunately, as I was telling before, government has many, many priorities, and they are in Mexico constantly doing some other things. So these APPs, all these schemes that are coming to the table are hopefully they will move us in the direction of getting things done. Again, it is not so much, it has to do a lot with financing, of course, but it has a lot to do also with lowering the cost and making things much more efficient. I think that's the bet today in Mexico. We are being successful at driving those things for the first time. I can tell you from the region where I am from, the law regulating these matters is brand new. It just came last year. So in many, many places there were not even laws to do these sorts of things. So hopefully your company and many other companies and all our cities will benefit from the fact that now we have understood that we must move in that direction, again, because that way we can get things done.
And also, I want to say, you touch, you say a word which triggers a lot of thinking, corruption. Now, the private sector, it's making a move to tell the Senate and the politicians to build the law 3 by 3 or 3 for 3, which it says, if you became a politician, you have to tell us how much money do you have, which are your friends, which are your compadres, and with who you have been making business. This has been a problem in the last few weeks because the Senate do not build the act that way. It changed a little things that make a big difference, but we are working on it. The new generations and many good people which needs, like you, to have equal, the same things over the table. We are working to make this difference to be on the law and also to be practical, because you talk about immobility or that.
I would say that, to be honest, I had an $80 million deal that I walked away from because it required different things which are actually anti-corruption laws. I just walked away from it. Ultimately, I don't need to be tarnished because there's a future, who knows. But what you're telling me, I'm beginning to be more optimistic because you're saying there is some transparency which is being put at play, which hopefully will manifest into a much greater playing field.
Yes.
That's what my hope.
That's what that's what is happening. It's difficult, but it's not impossible. The next question, here.
Good afternoon. My name is Raimundo Garcia de León. I have been a housing developer for 35 years, but in a short period of time in 2009, I was mayor of the city of Hermosillo. I can say that I love it, but I love it. Yeah, it was great. Yeah, it was only 3 months. And in 3 months, I can be aware of a lot of things. I have all my life dealing with the local authorities to have water for my developments. That's all we are here. And when I took possession of the water company in Hermosillo, I realized why they never are gonna have enough with money. How can you be loser in a company that some other people give you your raw materials, your pumps, your deep well, brings you the clients, put the meters, the water meters, gives you anything and you lose money. How can you do that? How can you
With
do
the
that?
captive,
Eh?
with with a captive buyer.
It's yeah. It's, believe me, it's anything. It's other thing. I discovered that they made in the 3 months that I was president, I had a strike for 2 months, and in 2 months I worked the company with only 120 people. The total amount of people was 900. 900, and you can enter the internet and you're going to see it. And I discovered that the company was
Doing well.
could be running, did it great with 120 people. So I think that the problem is not the technology, maybe in many cases. I think one of the main problems is bureaucracy. We have to get rid of all the bureaucracy that we have in the government all over the country. We need to stop paying people that doesn't do nothing. Thank you.
Edmundo, this is, I believe.
Thank you very much. Well, I don't know if there's a question. What you're saying is true. The reality is that municipal governments often don't run the services with the same incentives that a private company would run them. A private company is focused on making money for its owners, for its shareholders, and therefore it builds its institutional structure in order to be efficient, to provide the service efficiently. And municipal governments sometimes, and also state and national governments, let's face it, they have sometimes different incentives. That to them, the incentive oftentimes is to generate employment and to generate a client base that can be used for other purposes, electorally, et cetera, et cetera. So yes, I mean, I think you're right about the bureaucracy, but again, it goes back to the point that we need more transparency. We need all of this information on the internet so that there's public outrage. And we definitely need to give the municipal authorities perhaps the tools that they need in order to be able to do these things. And I'm not a big fan of the state owning companies, because these warped incentives are very difficult to manage. I think it's much better to turn those companies into public-private partnerships or into privatize them. But of course, that brings other issues of corruption, so it all has to be transparent, otherwise we end up in the same place.
Some other question? Yes?
One concept, there are a lot of things that are called dump city. The fact that 40% of Manhattan is wasted, in quotes, on roads that really have holes in them and look like a worst case developing market. It's a disaster, shame to New York. That's what I call a dump city. The fact that people may commute 2 hours to work. I had friends in Princeton. I used to work for Chase, 2 hours each way, 4 hours a day. That's dumb. It wastes time. It wastes all kinds of things, cars. Now, one concept that helps in your fifth dimension is time. Why should I sleep one place and work another place, and half the time is wasted in either my workplace or in my sleeping place? The other concept that I like, I live in Battery Park City. I have 170 people doing my gardening. The only it's the size of Versailles, except I don't own it. But I got the pleasure. I have the river, I have the flowers. Only multi-billionaire could afford the land that I have, except I don't own it. I cannot give it to my children, but I can invite them to come to Father's Day or 4th of July. So the question is there thinking about those elements of how you use shared economy? Not everybody needs a living room if they use it to have 100 people sit down dinner every 2 years. They may get it, in their building. Is there that kind of thinking in terms of having forward solution?
Dr. Enjet. Please.
Yeah, well, first of all, I agree with you that the state of the street system in New York City is appalling. The former mayor Bloomberg celebrated one day closing down 1 million potholes. But the potholes here, you close them one day, they come back the next day. Right? It's a disease. But I've seen cities with more potholes than New York. To correct one of the statistics that you came up with, you lived in Princeton, worked in the city. New York has a very efficient commuting system, and more than 95% of the people spend less than an hour commuting to work. So it's a big city, and still people get to work rather efficiently, both by public transport and by walking and by private transport. I agree with you also that there's tremendous amount of vacant space in the city. I mean, there's Russian oligarchs that have huge apartments here that are always empty. And there are all kinds of other kind of international jet set people that need an apartment in New York that they never use. And there are a lot of places where people that are standing empty. At the same time, we have a lot of people that are fighting Airbnb, for example, or the idea of renting your apartment for a short time to people. They think that this is an invasion of privacy. So let's say right out here on Park Avenue, you'll never be able to rent out your apartment to anybody. So the rental laws and the vacancy laws function against the densification that we're talking about.
That's all. That one you are talking about, what you say about New York, it's a global problem. It's just that in New York is a very big problem. In Mexico, in many cities, we have transport time from 40 minutes to 1 hour, when 10 years ago or 15 years ago, we used for that same trajectory 7-8 minutes. And now we are trying to deal with working on our house to be linked, so we could email everything. But those solutions and those things are in scale. Here you have a very big problem, but you have also very big solutions. Mm-hmm. What we are having in Mexico is to build at least the solutions and the way to put the solutions to work. So we have our time up, so we have to say you thank you, and the next panel will start in the next 10 minutes. Thank you very much to everyone. Thank you very much to my fellow panelists.
Thank you.
Thank you.